Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 27th of June. I'm going to give you the key strands to look out for this week. Please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces, which you can watch in terms of your ascendant or your sun or both. Now this week, of course, does see the new moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, depending on where you are in the world, it's on the 28th or 29th. In terms of Universal Central Time, it's the 29th. And this squares with the buoyant energy of Jupiter. Now, both are in cardinal signs. Cancer, the second of the cardinal quadrants, is very much about protection, nurture, the environment, our home, our family, our feelings. So that upbeat energy, that levitating energy of Jupiter is asking us to find ways, enterprising ways, because I think Jupiter is pushing for that, to add that sense of security at the root of our existences. Now Neptune, the planet of dreams, does begin a retrograde on Tuesday, which will last through to the 4th of December. Neptune's great if we want to embrace a more spiritual dimension, whether it's a more traditional spirituality or something that's more personal and much more to do with our own particular way of experiencing faith. But the retrograde could see us thinking very deeply about these issues over this period of time. But later this week, Neptune gets into a rather destructive right angle with Mercury. Mercury in the sign of Gemini, of course, is in its home sign, and it's very much about clarity and quick wits. So an exchange towards the end of this week may require a little more care, particularly if you're talking about a contract, but some gossip could be doing the rounds, so vital to try to keep things real. But there are two glorious influences this week. Mars forges a very stable angle to Saturn, and also there's a beautiful link between Jupiter and Venus. Now that can actually be very lucky, and if you're wanting to look to add to your family, I understand that this particular aspect can be very helpful, but it's also one where we can socialise and be a bit more free-spirited and live in the moment. Now the more break-in and restrictive energies of Saturn are counterbalanced by the more progressive energies of Mars, which is very much about pushing forwards. So Saturn can act as a bit of an anchor for the more rampant and more impulsive energies of Mars, so that's a very nice balancing influence too. In fact, towards the end of this week, despite the fact that Mercury gets blighted by Neptune, it actually also itself forges a stable link to Saturn. So I think as the week goes on, scrutinising the details around anything is going to be important. And as I say, particularly if you're discussing a contract, a job offer, or you're sending some communication that's important, make sure that you treble check everything before you do press that send button. Now, if you'd like to get a more detailed understanding of the new moon, please see beneath this video and you can watch my new moon special video. But if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. I'm nearly there at the 100,000 subs mark, and if you've already subscribed, I'm very grateful. And if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast and embrace the wonder of more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life, as well as a 12-month personal forecast. These are completely individual to you, and there's 30% off if you see the link beneath this video with my special offer. So Gemini, your week commencing the 27th of June forecast sees the new moon in your sector of everyday resources, but also linked to your own self-worth. So the next 4 weeks are going to see you pretty busy around trying to fortify the way that you manage the resources you have. We know, of course, that we're all caught up in this process at the moment, but things need to feel right as well. You know, if you're contemplating a purchase of any kind, listen to that sixth sense. Now, Jupiter is in the mix as well, but in a square. Now, it may be that your generosity is going to really climb over the next 4 weeks. And if you are someone who's very orientated towards good causes or helping those who are less fortunate, you may make or do something that's quite significant to try to support people like that during this period of time. But also, the Sun square Jupiter can kid us into promising more than perhaps is necessarily good for us, you know, generous to a fault. But my argument with that particular aspect is it's always better to be generous to a fault than mean to a fault. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, of course, your ruling planet is Mercury. Mercury, towards the end of this week, forges a very stable link with Saturn. If you are talking about something to do with publishing, a website, a contract, as long as there's absolute clarity, something could really get welded into a situation in a very solid way, particularly as Mars in your sector of the future is in a great link with Saturn as well this week. Now, of course, Venus and Jupiter, the two planets of luck, with Venus in your sign, are also coming together very fortuitously. So one particular friendship could pay off handsomely. But later this week, as Neptune goes retrograde on Tuesday, it moves into a square with Mercury in the last few days. And if you don't have that clarity, if you're not quite sure, if your gut feeling isn't really giving you the support you need, I would proceed very cautiously if there is something, particularly around your career, that you're not quite sure about. Essentially, Neptune's retrograde through to the 4th of December could see you wanting to bring a more spiritual dimension into your worldly interactions or your work, or it may feel or start to emerge that if there's a sense of dissatisfaction with what you do, you may look quite deeply within yourself to try to find new ways to move forwards, new ways to reimagine what you can do in terms of your work or in terms of your responsibilities or your goals and ambitions. But generally, this is a very bright week for you as long as that clarity around the communication is crystal clear.